90% of the time, cold traffic funnels don't fail from bad ads. Instead, they fail because of the post-click not being defined. Now, I've seen teams break that funnel flow many, many times, and it almost always results in lower conversion rates. If you give me 15 minutes, I'll walk you through the golden funnel formula that helps your team keep the customer journey aligned in your funnel so that you can minimize bounce rates and increase your conversion rate. So if you are new to me, my name is Cody Smith. I'm an e-commerce cold traffic strategist and conversion copywriter for 7- to 8-figure D2C health and wellness brands. And I've been selling to cold traffic now for probably around 8 years. And what makes my approach unique is that I blend copywriting with CRO so that everything ties back to ROI. That's why every one of my videos gives you strategies and tactics that your team can implement and test today to start doubling your cold traffic conversions fast. Now, I'm going to share my screen and walk you through this formula step by step. And by the way, I'm going to give you something special at the end of this video so that your team can at least knock out one part of this formula in less than 10 minutes to start seeing results in your conversion rates from your funnel fast. Okay, so give me a second here. I'm going to switch my screen around and we will get right into it. So this formula that I'm about to share with you is the secret to building cold traffic funnels that convert. It's not just having the right pages. However, that is important, but having the right sequence of messages matched to your buyer's mindset at each step is the key. So let's get into that formula. All right, so when we're looking at the golden funnel formula, we start with the right stage of awareness plus the right level of sophistication plus your golden thread, which, by the way, if you don't know what that is, it's okay. We'll get into that as we go, plus message matching. And that equals a high converting funnel, right? Okay. But what does that look like in practice? That is what I'm going to show you right now. Okay, so let's do a visual of what this would actually look like when you're incorporating this golden funnel formula into your funnel. Okay. All right, so this is going to be your funnel. And let's say you have an ad, an advertorial, and a sales page or a PDP. I recommend a sales page, by the way. So the very first part of this formula is the right stage of awareness. So really, we just need to ask ourselves, how familiar are they with your brand or product? Then we have to map that out throughout your funnel. And I'm going to show you how to do that right here. Okay, so each part of your funnel should match the stages of awareness that your audience is in. So let's say this is just a cold traffic funnel. We have your ad, your advertorial, and your sales page. And so the ad would target people who are either unaware or problem aware, right? The advertorial would target people that are problem aware, or you could target people who are solution aware. Typically, it works well, though, to have your ad target problem aware and then continue that problem on the advertorial. But your sales page would have product aware to most aware, right? The biggest mistake that I see, though, is dropping someone from a curiosity-driven ad, so from right here, and then just putting them, boom, right here on the sales page and product page. Now, the reason that this is a big deal is that it breaks the flow and it kills conversions, right? So let's say you targeted somebody who's problem aware that obviously they don't know much about your brand, and then you go slap them down over here on this sales page. Well, they're not ready to buy yet, right? Now, disclaimer, not every product needs this type of funnel here where you're educating, right? But many do. And I actually have a video that takes you through 4 criteria to help you determine if your product and offer would benefit from an educational funnel or if you can do this direct funnel here from the ad to the product page. Okay, so definitely check that out. Okay, so now that we've mapped out the right stage of awareness in the funnel, we have to look at the right level of sophistication. And this is where a lot of people mess up because they tend to think that the stage of awareness and the level of sophistication are the same thing, and they are not. So the stages of awareness is about how aware your potential customer is of your brand and your product, right? The level of sophistication, on the other hand, has to do with how many claims have they seen, how many ads have they seen for the same problem that you're targeting. That is where we have to look at what we need to say to them that is going to get them to pay attention to what we have to say, right? Because you have to factor in how many products they have already seen like yours. Are they jaded? Are they skeptical? Have they seen 17 ads today for the same magnesium sleep spray that you are promoting just today? So that's really what we're looking at here. So when it comes to the levels of sophistication, I look at them in 3 tiers. So we know that people can be low sophisticated, they can be medium or moderately sophisticated, or they can be highly sophisticated. Now, when it comes to health and wellness, typically most fall in here because they've already tried so many things. They are highly sophisticated, right? So at this point, we can't be generic. We have to get their attention. And it has to be in a different way than they are used to seeing, okay? So your ad, that job of that ad is to get attention, right? It's not to sell at this point. It's to get attention. Then we also want to make sure that we are targeting the right segment, right? So we have to find a specific problem and target that right segment of people. We can't be generic here. Now, from there, we want to send them to an advertorial because they need to spend more time with us, right? So we need to secure attention on the advertorial. So that's why I say that we take that problem and expand out on the advertorial what the problem is. But what also they are going to need is they will need to be educated, right? So we're going to use the advertorial for that. They also have objections, right? So what are some ways that the advertorial can help with objections? Well, we definitely need a unique mechanism, right? Have to have that, proof, and specific messaging. Now, when it comes to your sales page, this is where we really want to build even more trust, right? Because why? The only job of the sales page is to get the yes. So that means we need some pretty good proof here. We need to have urgency here to help them move along and make the decision today. Hopefully your advertorial has made them excited and educated them enough to do that. And then we also want to make sure that they're having a good experience. They're not confused. We don't want them confused on the sales page, which we are going to get into more of that with the next part of the formula. Okay, so now we've looked at your right level of sophistication. Now we have to understand the golden thread. What is your golden thread? Well, this right here is your golden thread. It is basically the stitch that takes your big idea or a narrative that holds your funnel together from ad all the way to checkout. And it needs to feel like one seamless, persuasive conversation. So you can ask yourself, does everything tie back to one big idea or one promise or the theme that runs through the entire funnel? And it needs to act as a unifying force that guides the reader through the message. Does it do that? This isn't only in the headline either. So we might sometimes mistake it and think, well, the headline's fine. Well, no. The golden thread has to do with everything on each one of these pages. So we don't want to throw in a bunch of different ideas and not tie them back to the big idea, right? And that's what this is about. So an example would be if you had a big idea that the vagus nerve is the reason why somebody couldn't sleep, for example, and it was like the gap from them getting a good night's sleep, and you're trying to convince them of that. Well, your big idea is that a vagus nerve stimulator will fill that gap for why they can't sleep. Well, then you need to carry that out through the entire funnel, right? So if the advertorial talks about sleep, but then the sales page suddenly shifts to like stress or something like that, well, then guess what? You just broke that golden thread, and that is going to lower conversion rates. So we want to avoid that. But the golden thread is very related to the next part of the formula here. So we've got your golden thread, and now we're going to look at your message matching. So your message matching, what does that mean? Well, it means, does each page continue from where the other page left off without introducing friction, without causing confusion, and without breaking trust? Because remember, we talked about how important trust is, especially for people who are extremely jaded. So we want to make sure that we are not breaking that trust. So here's an example of message matching. So let's say that your advertorial ends talking about magnesium and how it balances cortisol at night, okay? And then let's say your sales page picks up with a headline that says something completely off the wall, like feel calm and balanced with L-theanine. Well, maybe your magnesium has L-theanine in it, but that would confuse them, right? So we wouldn't want to do that. But it also works with the stages of awareness as well. So if you left off with the same claim, right, magnesium balances cortisol at night, and that's what they're expecting to see on the next page, and then they hit a headline that says, do you want to sleep better at night? Well, then that brings them back in the stages of awareness. You're bringing them back to problem aware. We don't want to do that, right? So your message matching is very, very important. So now you've seen the formula, you should understand it a little bit, but what I want to do is I want to help your team knock out at least the message matching part of this formula, because they say that small hinges swing big doors, and this truly is that. So what I've done is I've created a simple ChatGPT prompt that your team can literally fix your message matching problem in the hero section of each one of your assets in less than 10 minutes. So if you want access to this prompt, just comment message matching below and I'll send it to you, no strings attached. My goal really is just to get you a quick win. As I promise in all my videos, everything that I share, you can take something away from and go implement it today. So if you want access to that prompt, again, just comment message matching below and I'll give it to you completely free.